Browns had dealt Baltimore a defeat. Now a victory over the Rams would not only be revenge, but a necessity. The Colts won 24-10 and won so convincingly that the Rams gained little over 100 total yards, and Gabriel was unmercifully dumped 5 times by a defense that played with a controlled fury at times frightening to watch. In retrospect, this became Baltimore's biggest game of the year, since a rematch would turn out to be meaningless. More importantly, it gave them an emotional lift that helped them stampede through the rest of the season. In New York, the Giants became the Colts' first shutout victim since 1964, as they stifled Fran Tarkenton's razzle-dazzle and won 26-0. In Detroit, the Colts won 27-10 as the defense got to Bill Munson 4 times, and Earl Morrall threw for 250 yards to complete a sweep of all of the teams he formerly played with. A 27-0 win over St. Louis gave the Colts their second shutout in 3 weeks, with 5 interceptions being the key to victory. Against the tough Minnesota Vikings, Morrall threw for 3 first-half scores, but the defense was again the difference, as they reached the quarterback 5 times and hung on in the second half to preserve a 21-9 victory. Number 82, Raymond Berry, was honored as the Colts clobbered the Falcons, tying a record with their 3rd shutout of the year. If they could next beat the Packers and the Bears could upset the Rams, Baltimore would be division champion. It was December 7th in Green Bay, and on a most impressive but frost-bitten Veterans Day at Lambeau Field, Coach Don Shula would have to find enough heroes to beat the Packers in their own icebox. Willie Richardson was cold, but Willie was a hero as he beat Herb Adderley for the only touchdown of the game. But the game was really won down in the dirt by the defense. The Colt defense forced 5 turnovers, setting up every score but one, and more than that, physically beat the once proud Packers so badly that the 16-3 score concealed the true margin of the Packers' defeat. In the last 7 games, the Colts had allowed but 2 touchdowns, an incredible record that was finally rewarded when on the following day the Bears upset the Rams, and Baltimore was Coastal Division champion. The place, Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, the date, December 22nd, the Western Conference Championship against the Minnesota Vikings. For the Colts, Christmas would come 3 days early.
Introducing the offensive unit of the Baltimore Colts. At center, number 50 from Georgia Tech, Steve Curry. At left guard, number 71 from Boston College.
A month ago, Baltimore had defeated the Vikings with an aggressive rush and a goal line stand that stopped Bill Brown twice from the 1 to ensure a 21-9 victory.
73 from Kentucky, Sam Hall. At quarterback, number 15 from Michigan State, Earl Morrall. Coach Don Shula.
Today, on a wet and cold Sunday afternoon, the defense would probably again be the key to the game's outcome. And in a scoreless first quarter, it was the Viking defense that stood out.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, boys! Let's go!
But the Colts would be the first to score.
Complete to Richardson.
great catch by Richardson and a Morrill to Mitchell touchdown had made it 7-0 at halftime. The game was won in the third quarter.
Come on, baby, let's go.
First, John Mackey ran away from two defenders for a 50-yard touchdown. But the defense would apply the clincher on the very next series of downs, as a vocal and emotional Tom Matte gave them their inspiration.
Come on, Chitty, get him going! What do you say? Big play, baby! Come on!
Trailing 21-0 now, the Vikings were down but not out.
Come on, Bo, get after it, baby! Come on, Reverend!
Their last chance was to keep a drive going with 4th and 6 on the Colt 20.
Come on, defense!
It failed. Joe Kapp and the Vikings had been left in the mud of Memorial Stadium. The Vikings did score 2 touchdowns, but they came hopelessly late, and all that was left was to run out the clock.
Run it out!
Baltimore had done it. They were the Western Conference champions for the first time in 4 years and would now face the Browns in Cleveland for the NFL title. To the Colts, the NFL championship was mostly a matter of revenge. Not only had the Browns shut out Baltimore in the '64 championship, but earlier this year dealt them their only loss, 30-20. They did it on the running of the great Leroy Kelly and the unfortunate bounce of the ball, as 3 costly deflected interceptions resulted in the Colts' first defeat. Today would be different. Today, December 29th, 80,000 watched in a chilled silence as Don Shula coached, Earl Morrill called, and the defense played what was later termed the perfect game. Kelly and the Browns' running attack were methodically reduced to sawdust by a Colt defense that held him to 28 yards. Their passing attack was effectively shackled by a front line that buried Nelson and Ryan 4 times and pressured them into 2 costly interceptions, which, along with a fumble and a blocked field goal, were the keys to Baltimore's easy victory. On offense, Morrill threw sparingly but effectively, and Colt runners racked up 190 yards. Tom Matte had his greatest game of the year, tying a championship record with 3 touchdowns. When it was all over, people had seen a display of flawless football, a tribute to a hungry and frustrated team that never forgot 1964, and to its coach. Coach of the Year, Don Shula. What were Shula's thoughts on a most satisfying season? He must have thought about Miami and the game that spoiled an otherwise super year. He must have also thought, however, that despite being upset by the Jets, 15-2 was still the best record in both leagues. 60 minutes in Miami could not erase that fact.